So now I would like to introduce Chris Chandler in her car.
Hey, electric car.
That's cool. She's going to be our program today and talk to us about electric vehicles, right?
Exactly. Yes. So, good afternoon, everybody. I thought that it might be kind of fun to do something different, and electric cars are really quiet. They're well insulated, so I figured, why not? If there's enough Wi-Fi out here, and there was, here we go.
Can you see both?
So, as you can see, this is a city with gorgeous blue skies, puffy clouds, and you can see some palm trees. Who knows which city this is?
Does it look like New York?
That is Los Angeles right now. We don't have to imagine it.
Thank you. Yes, this is Los Angeles, which those of us who have lived in LA, I have, for 2 stints, have never seen it look like this. The air is super clean, and this is because of the pandemic and people sheltering in place and not commuting to work. So it gives us a sense of what could happen if more people drove electric cars. Telecommuting certainly, would also be a factor, but electric cars are more efficient, and even if they use electricity that's generated from coal, they still are better in terms of how much carbon is put in the air than a gas-powered vehicle. So the one takeaway that I'm hoping you'll leave with, and the Newport Club is exemplary because you have at least 5 members who drive electric. Dietmar, Dustin, Freddie, Chris, and Sonetta all drive an electric car. Dietmar's does use some gasoline for extending the range, but it's an entirely different experience. And the one thing I want you to leave with is this: when your home becomes your fueling station, the driving dynamic shifts dramatically. And a big bonus right now is those of us who drive electric, we aren't having to fuss with pumping our own gas. That's all kind of a gray area right now in Oregon, or handing over your credit card and worrying about any sort of transmission of virus. You just drive home, plug in your car, put down your garage door, and move on. So next slide. Right now, there's about 40 models of electric vehicles that are available on the market. I did cheat a little with this slide because I wanted to show you the Mach-E, the Mustang. So the one on the left, the first one, the big bright red car, that is the Hyundai Kona. It's very popular, just came out about, sometime last year, and it's a crossover. Next to it is the Mach-E, and you can tell because of the tail lights in the classic Mustang shape. Next row, that's a Nissan Leaf, and then a BMW i3 and a Chevy Bolt, the little silver one. Sonetta's is much prettier. She has a red one. And on the bottom row, you'll recognize one that looks like Dustin's Model 3. And the last one with the parade signs on it is a Honda Clarity, which gets about 50 miles on gas and the rest on electric, and the rest is gasoline. So it's a gas electric hybrid. It plugs in, but it also takes gas. Most electric vehicles on the road today, pure electric, all electric, have at least 200 miles, 240 miles of range. Some of them have over 300. That's most of them. It's something you'd want to check if you were thinking about buying. But as someone who leased my first Nissan Leaf, I think it was back in 2012 or 13, my range was about 70, 75 miles. Things have come a long way since then. The pandemic being a bit of a glitch for some of us, I did not get this slide updated because the price of gasoline, as we know, has plummeted comparatively to the usual gasoline prices. But this compares the cost for 1,000 miles gasoline versus electric. So take those red bars and downscale them about 25% to compensate for the lower cost of gas. The average cost of a gallon of gas in Oregon right now is $2.40. We use $3.15. But even when you reduce each of those red bars by 25%, you still see significant savings driving with electricity over gasoline. So some of you are thinking, really, that cheap, huh? Really? Yep. If you take a look at that bill snippet, there's a snippet of a typical Central Lincoln bill, shows you the price of electricity by the kilowatt hour at 7.74 cents. The Chevy Bolt gets 3.75 miles per kilowatt hour. Nissan Leaf, as you can see, just a bit above. The Kia Soul is not very aerodynamic. It's very boxy. It only gets 3.22 miles per kilowatt hour. And the Tesla 3 gets 4.22.
What are Teslas?
This is the Hyundai Kona I talked about earlier. They retail at about 42,000. You'll see the asterisk, and I'll get to that in a minute. The gas Kona, the gas-powered Kona, it's about 75, and I was able to update this slide to reflect today's gas prices. $75 for 1,000 miles of fuel. They get about 32 miles per gallon. The electric version, if you charge it here in Central Lincoln at your home, it would be $21.67 for 1,000 miles. Again, at that 7.74 cents a kilowatt hour. The reason I have that asterisk there is because the Hyundai Kona qualifies for the full $7,500 tax credit. If you were to buy a Kona today, you would get that amount off of your federal taxes, or if you've paid in that much, you would get that refunded to you up to $7,500. It's a chunk. Also, the state of Oregon has a rebate that's not tied into your taxes. That's $2,500. So you would get $10,000 off this vehicle. So when people say, well, really, I'm not buying it, Chris. Well, okay, fine. Go to Central Lincoln's website, CLPUD.org, click on electric cars, and you can put in how much you're paying for gas at that given moment, or diesel, whatever you're buying, or premium. Some people like premium fuel or Supreme. You can put that in the price per gallon box on the left, and also put in what year the vehicle you're currently driving, the make, model, etc., and then the electric car you're looking at. And you can see, in this case, I put in a Ford pickup, but the cost is significant. Sanetta and I have a coworker who drives to Burt Woods, commutes back and forth, and he does it with a diesel pickup. And I ran the numbers for him, and he would save about $7,500. And he's a Consumers Power customer, so I use their rates, which are a little bit higher than ours. And it would basically make his car payment, and he wouldn't be putting all those miles on his very expensive pickup. Next slide. Thank you. Now here's an example. The Oregon rebate qualifies for a lease. If you just want to dip your toe into the electric pond carefully, you could do that and still get that $2,500. And that's a check in the mail rebate. That's not a credit on your taxes. It's not tied to your taxes. It could be even more. They do allow another $2,500 for folks that are what they consider middle income to low income, and the prices, the amount per household is really generous. You could make up to $88,000 in Toledo and still qualify for that $2,500. So I had a friend who leased an Ioniq last year, a Hyundai Ioniq. The down was $3,650, but she got $2,500 back from the state, which lowered her down significantly, and her payment is $138 a month. So she's saving a bundle. Again, I talked a bit about the tax credits and rebates that you can qualify by driving electric, up to $7,500 for, oh, sorry, yikes. Sorry about that, guys. If it's not a Tesla, a Chevy, and depending on how things are going right now, the Nissan Leaf, those have all phased out on the federal tax credit. Once a car manufacturer hits a certain number, their cars no longer qualify for the full $7,500, starts phasing down, and Chevy and Tesla both no longer have that tax credit available to their customers. The Oregon rebate isn't tied into a brand. It's the $2,500 or $5,000. Even folks who get the gas electric hybrids can get a portion of that Oregon tax credit. Marcia's telling me she can't hear the audio. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay, cool. All right, next slide. Sorry, Marcia. There's also a rebate for putting in a charging station that Central Lincoln offers. It's up to $250. And the feds just extended their tax credit for putting in a level 2 charging station that's independent outside of ours. It's another 30%. And the folks that have electric could correct me, but the ballpark of what it costs between the charging unit itself and putting in that extra 220 outlet in your garage or your carport, it's about $750. So between Central Lincoln's rebate plus the federal rebate, you're not out of pocket a huge amount. And then you're good to go as long as you have your electric car.
If you have 200 amps,
Okay.
max out.
So in terms of who's been using our rebate, we've had people from Depot Bay, Lincoln Beach, Winchester Bay, all the way down to North Bend. We serve all the way down there. Seal Rock, we've had several in Seal Rock and several in South Beach. It's almost like neighbors see other neighbors driving electric, they talk about it and go, hey, I could do that too. It's been pretty interesting to watch where, you know, there isn't a whole lot of population and yet they're, you know, they've got folks who are going electric. Where are the charging stations? Okay, so say that you need to go someplace that's further away from home, maybe more than 300 miles away. Where do you find the charging stations? There's apps for that. You just download it on your phone. You can also view them on your computer. And as you can see, there's a lot more than a lot of people think. Unfortunately, charging stations don't come with neon lights. They don't flash a lot, so people just assume they're not there. But as you can see, there's a lot of charging stations in and around our area. Okay, so another big savings with driving electric over gasoline is savings on maintenance. There's no oil changes with electric, no tune-ups, no spark plugs, no engine air filters. Yes, tires, but they last about the same as gas-powered vehicles, about 40,000 to 50, depending on the tires you get. Windshield wipers and wiper fluid, that's it.
No battery change.
So then people think, well, okay, it's like driving a golf cart. No, it is not like driving a golf cart. The Nissan Leaf goes 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. The Soul, again, not so aerodynamic, a little slower. The Chevy Bolt, zippy, 6.5, and the Tesla 3, which is the base model of Tesla, 5.6 seconds. I even made my husband scream one time because he wanted me to accelerate, so I just floored it and even scared him. That was fun. Oregon's air will be cleaner the more people who drive electric, particularly because of our power mix, but again, also because it's more efficient. Central Lincoln's power is near zero carbon, as designated by the Oregon Global Warming Commission. We always say it, but we love it when somebody else says it too. By driving electric, you also support American jobs and energy independence. You know, we do import a certain amount of gasoline. We have been exporting oil as well, but 98% of the electricity used in the United States is generated in the United States. You know, it's hard to import. We do get a little bit from Canada, but for the most part, what we use here is generated here. Also, electricity prices are more stable than gas. If your rates go up in Central Lincoln territory, it's once a year, and the rest of the year it stays the same. Also, electric cars are super quiet. At the very end of this, I'll put mine in reverse, and you can hear how minimal, how low the sound is. And a really unusual bonus of driving electric. You can leave your dog in the car with the air conditioning on. You don't have to worry about carbon monoxide. And it doesn't melt a whole lot off the battery. And some cars have a specific dog mode for that. You don't need it. You can just leave the air conditioning on and shut the windows. Dog's super comfortable. As you can see, this electric car driver also had the added bonus of letting folks know that the dog had water and his favorite music is on. So I get people to say, yeah, driving electric is cool, Chris, you know, it's a car thing, but I drive a pickup. Okay, well, pretty soon you'll be able to do that too with electric. The one on the left is a Rivian. It's expected hopefully next year. You've probably heard a certain amount of publicity about the Tesla Cybertruck. That's a black Cybertruck there on the right. And on the bottom is a Ford F-150 electric truck that's also in the pipeline. That one is hauling multiple railroad cars to show that they are as robust as a gas-powered or diesel-powered pickup. There's a great video if you're curious and online. Just Google Ford pickup electric. The video should pop up, and there's one of Ford's engineers happily talks a bunch of F-150 fans through it and shows them just how powerful it is. It's pretty amazing. So Bloomberg Technology projects that by 2025, 1 of every 6 cars sold will be electric. It's a lot of fun to drive electric. It's really convenient. And talk to any one of us that I just mentioned, and they can share their stories. Freddie, Dustin, Sonetta, Dietmar. And sorry, there was, yeah. So questions?
And Freddie also, right?
Yeah, Freddie.
Freddie.
And Chris.
Yeah, this is Keith. I have a question.
Yes.
So you always talk about all the economy and saving everything in the environment. What about the batteries and the useful life of the batteries, and what happens when they're no longer useful? What do you do with the batteries?
They've been repurposing the ones that can't be recycled to power up solar-powered signs. There is definitely a group of folks working on being able to refurbish the batteries so they don't go into the waste stream. I've driven 4 different electric cars. I've not gotten any of them to the point where their batteries were losing power or losing charge or capacity. So I can't tell you what it would cost to replace them, but I understand the prices keep coming down, especially the Nissan Leaf. They got in early and there's a lot of them around. And my understanding is the replacement is like, I don't know, 5,000 or something, but you know, that could buy you another 7 years. So over time, not very expensive. So again,
It wasn't so much about replacing them, it's just what happens when they're no longer useful. What the environment's going to have to deal with that lithium ion somehow. What are they? Is it just remanufactured and put back into another battery? That's my question.
that's what they're trying to do, yes. But for those that aren't able to do that, they're using them to power up solar-powered signage at parks or, you know, transportation signage, that kind of thing.
Keith, I've also heard that people are repurposing and using them for power packs for houses or remote houses as well. But the thing with their useful life for cars, however, is that they don't discharge quick enough, but they discharge just fine to run electronics in a house.
Thank you.
My husband does that. He uses, he buys old batteries from medical equipment and the car type batteries, and then he rebuilds them into power packs for his solar chargers.
Huh,
Cool.
interesting.
And what does he charge with them? Cell phones?
Wheelchair, backup power for the freezer and the refrigerator, and pretty much he has some solar panels on the roof. And not as many as he wants yet, of course, because that's the way nerds work. But he, the main thing is the battery storage makes a solar more efficient here.
Excellent. Yeah, because we know that there's not a lot of generation when it's dark or when it's raining or the
Not so
sky
much.
the gray. Yeah.
But he has about 1,100 of the small batteries,
Wow.
and he uses 80 of them. Yeah. He uses 80 of them in his electric-powered wheelchair, and he charges it daily on a solar charge.
Nice.
How long does it take to recharge?
Chris, how long does it take to recharge?
Okay. With every electric vehicle today comes with a 110, 120 charger that you can plug in anywhere. And so my mother at one point was like, oh, what if you're in the middle of nowhere and you run out of charge? And I looked at her and I said, Somebody's got a call.
Megan.
Yeah.
If your phone goes off, you owe $10.
Be fun.
Thanks, Sylvia.
Guess I should have had a mute on. Gosh darn it. So sorry.
So I told my mom, they're exponentially. Hello.
Sorry. I'm trying to get into the
Same
screen where I can
phone?
mute myself. I can't find where I can mute myself right now. Hang on a second. Maybe I can do it now. Oy, sorry. Go ahead. I'm
Okay. There are, as we all know, there are exponentially more electrical outlets in this country than there are gas stations. And I told her, I should worry about you, Mom. What if you're in the middle of nowhere and you run out of gas? Yeah, it's just far easier. But really the most efficient way to charge your electric vehicle is with a 220. It depends on the car, but I pick up about 33 miles an hour. So overnight is more than enough. And in fact, just to make it easier on the grid, I set my car to start charging at about 11 o'clock at night when people are really turning in and turning off. Just because it's, it helps levelize things. It's not a must. We don't have time of use rates, and we don't anticipate charging time of use for some time.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a hassle. But then, of course, there's the fast charging stations, the really fast 440, 480 volt stations. There's one in Newport that, about 40 minutes, and you're in great shape in terms of range. There's a Tesla supercharging station up in Lincoln City as well. There's multiple other fast charging in the network. Lincoln City, Newport, Yachats, Florence, Reedsport. So really the best way is the level 2.
So Chris, can I chime in for a sec?
Please, yes.
So because my commute is rather short and I don't go a lot of extended places, I've stayed with my 110. I didn't even pay anything to go up to a level 2 charger. So I am able to get 30 miles like overnight on my using my 110. And since I don't even drive that in a day, I can keep it topped off. But in addition, I can go to Albany and back on a full charge in my car. And pretty much, unless I'm going to Portland, that 110 has got me by. When I do go to Portland, I find a level 2 charger or a level 3 if I can, and I plug it in there and I just go do something else. So I know there's anxiety around with people concerned about, where do I charge? How long does it take? But if you think about, okay, it might take 45 minutes to use a level 3 charge if you're really down. And that feels like a lot bigger time than maybe 2-3 minutes in a gas station is. You can use that time to go stretch your legs, to go have lunch. If you can time these things, go shopping, or just take a nap or a mental break or check Facebook. But in the scheme of things, the occasional time that you would have to do that 45-minute charge compared to the benefit of driving clean, and you can see what it's done for Los Angeles, you just know how many poisons that means electric or gas powered cars are putting into the environment. Just kind of have to weigh what's important in your life, what's important for your time and for the environment. And there's only just a few times that I've really had to just sit with my car being charged, just a couple of times, and I've had it almost 2 years. So, and like Chris said, they're kind of everywhere, and there's an app for that. And my car got low one time. I didn't realize, because we did a Lincoln City and back one day, and then we did a Florence and back one day. And my husband was driving, and so he didn't notice it had gotten low. And it turned out then the next day I had to go to Corvallis for a doctor's appointment, and I only had maybe 75-mile range. And I thought, what am I going to do? Well, I have to go. So I went, I pulled over in Philomath. I got up the apps. I found an app at a charging station near my doctor's office. So I drove there, I plugged it in, I walked to my doctor's, and by the time I was done, it was charged enough for me to get back home. So, they're out there, and really, it's very, very manageable. And I think as these get more popular, the infrastructure will increase. The charging speeds will get faster. The battery length will get longer. It's kind of like everything. The more demand there is, I believe, the better we're going to see these options. And I dipped my toe in, like Chris said, and I just went for a lease. And so I wasn't eligible for the $7,500 federal rebate, but I did get the $2,500 back from the state, and that offset the majority of my down payment. And I'm waiting and watching for my lease to be up and to find a car with, you know, longer range and better options. And I think it's coming. And I love my electric car. And I had a Mazda RX-8 that I absolutely loved, but I have only missed just a couple things with that. But I enjoy this car. It's super peppy. It's very reliable. So anyway, there's my 2 cents worth just for my almost 2 years of driving.
Sonetta, it's Doretta. Can you hear me?
I can.
How much does it cost to use one of those stations?
Well, the one I was speaking of in Corvallis, it cost me $5. They just charged it right to my credit card. So it was $5 to get enough to fill my car enough to get home, and I still had plenty left. There are the charging station I use in Portland when I go visit my son that's 3-4 blocks away. They don't charge at all because they sell Leafs there, and so theirs are free. And you can oftentimes find free ones, but it's probably about 20% of what it actually costs to fill your car up with gas.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
the network that we have that is part of the West Coast Electric Highway, where we have, you know, Lincoln City, Newport, Yachats, they do a flat $20 a month unlimited charging rate. And I just do that, and it gets billed to my credit card. They send me a card that I just wave in front of the computerized system, and it validates me. I plug in, and the kilowatt hours start flowing, and it works out really well. I really never lack for anything to do when I'm charging. You can return phone calls. My dog, if she's with me, is like, yay, we get a walk. She knows what signs to watch for. Restroom, snack, there's always something.
Hey, any other questions for Chris?
And Sonetta.
And
No.
Sonetta, or Randy?
I have a question. Are there any, and I don't know if you know this or not, but you know, at Olala Center we use multi-passenger vans to transport the kids. Do you know if there's anything on the horizon for vans, especially the bigger versions?
There are, in fact, school buses as well.
Good.
There's a publication coming out. Electric Car Insider is going to be producing it. That should outline the ones. I don't know specific names and brands and capacity and all that, but it is definitely in the pipeline.
And just second part of that question, are there incentives for businesses beyond what you already spoke about to, you know, to have stations and then to upgrade vehicles?
The federal one, you probably would have to have Howard or an accountant look up. I'm not positive. I think so. In fact, I'm almost positive, yes, for commercial customers. For the state, the answer is definitely yes. And Central Lincoln was actually able to get that $2,500 from the state for its Chevy Bolt purchase, which was nice. Because again, it's not tied into your taxes.